Hey, folks, this one's a little bit different and also the epitome of overdue. I get the question every now and then, who are the other people in the logo? Now, the one who's been on most recently is my partner, Liz. They're ready to snap half of us out of existence if we tick her off too much. But it's not uncommon for people to ask, who are the other two people? Well, this is Paul and this is Ryan. And they used to show up semi-regularly on this channel, but then life kind of happened. Like they both had kids and then the plague. And I ended up late last year actually getting both of them on a Zoom call to catch up so that you folks could hear what they've been up to. Now, because it took me so dang long to get around to editing this, because I've been buried in a lot of other work, some of the things that we talk about are not exactly currently topical, like the Joker movie, which wasn't even that topical at the time, but, first season of The Mandalorian and some of the things that had been announced at DC Fandom. Like, I took too dang long to edit this, so forgive me. I did trim down some of the stuff where, it just, how untopical it was just made the conversation uninteresting to listen to at this point, but I still think that if you've missed these guys at all, you might enjoy this. So give it a look or listen, mostly. It's kind of a podcast format on this one.
But hey, guys, how are you doing?
Hang on, wait a minute. Have you been doing these shows without us?
No.
Okay.
No,
that's a huge relief.
It's been on hiatus for quite a while.
I was figuring it must be. You haven't asked in so long. I just thought... you just stopped. You lost interest. Whew.
That is definitely what happened. So, how you doing, Ryan?
Mostly fine. Fatherhood, regular life, global pandemic, ordinary stressors, election year. It's all turning into one delicious cosmic soup of feel free, kicking back, easygoing, everything. Everything is fine.
2020 will be remembered as the laid back year.
Yeah. In COVID adjusted terms, I'm fine.
I'm going to start stealing that.
Yeah.
And Paul, you son of a gun, not only did you have a kid, you went and had another one.
I did. I second Ryan there. It's just a lot of ditto. Ditto. Much like a ditto machine. I honestly, things considering are okay. And I've even found the spare few seconds every now and then to write a couple things.
Ooh, what have you been writing, Paul?
Well, I've been working on some short fiction, and so we'll see where that goes. But it's I've been needing some escapes. I'm not quite sure why, but something to distract me from the real world, and so fiction has been an outlet. So that's been good.
That's very valid. And how about you, Ryan? How have you been fending off the mind demons?
I probably should have tried fending them off.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that kind of made things better. Podcasting that has eaten up the majority of my free time. Otherwise, just reading, staring at things that I want to purchase and not, or doing so. It depends. Mostly podcasting is what occupies my free time.
How many are you up to right now, Ryan?
Episodes or shows? I don't know.
Shows.
2020 has killed off a couple of my shows too.
Yep.
And will kill off more in the future. I will kill again. So I'm trying to narrow down the amount of work that I'm actually putting out, because I would like to get back to my own writing and my own work on other projects and everything that I could actually potentially monetize. But we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens.
But you don't just want to sit down and talk about what other people have done creatively? Why wouldn't you just want to do that all the time?
I mean, it's certainly easier. Well, I shouldn't say that.
It's a lot of.
I mean, Ryan,
seems
I
like a
know
lot of
for a
work.
fact that certainly compared to me, you actually put effort into your podcast. So
It's, I did not. I am not graced with a lot of demonstrable skills. So the ones that I can do, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fool them into thinking I'm a pretty talented guy.
There's a lot of really good software out there.
So I guess I'm actually really glad to hear that you're both pursuing something creative, because I think for a lot of people like us, that is kind of the if not the primary thing that keeps you going, at least is part of the fuel that keeps you going. So I'm glad to hear that. Is there anything either of you two have been watching? Obviously, movies are kind of a thing of the before time and the long, long ago, but picked up anything, any TV shows, any comic book series that you've gotten into?
So I just started, and I'm late to a lot of stuff. Fatherhood, but I just started Umbrella Academy. And I chewed through season 1. The both of you are probably already done season 2, yeah?
Yes.
I've never watched it.
Oh, I think it's very much up your alley, Paul.
Yeah, I like it. I don't want to take it apart too much, as Ryan hasn't seen it. But I will. What I'll say of it is that it feels very derivative, and it feels like the source material is sort of ever present and constantly reminding you of. And I'm going to get in trouble for this, but maybe a better property that might have handled these characters or characters like these or situations like these better. And so I'm enjoying it. I'm sort of accepting it for what it is, sort of a popcorn kind of entertainment. But
I will be very curious to see what you think about the second season, because I thought the first season was fine, and I actually kind of forgotten about it. And I loved the second season, because the first season has all the groundwork to lay, and it's not the most original groundwork in the world.
It is not. Yep.
But second season, it really lets the characters stretch, and it allows itself to be stupid. And I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, I just started season 2, so I will finish it. I'll push through, but and it's not like it's torture. I just I constantly feel like I'm like, oh yeah, that's like, and the thing is that you do have to sort of put your own ego out of the way with these things and sort of let the storytellers tell their story. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so there's only so many stories and variations on characters and powers, etc. And so, but with that said, it feels like the source material here is very much close to the surface as I'm watching it. So
that's fair.
Anyway,
and
but
not to sound like I'm backhand insulting you on this, except I'm backhand insulting you on this. Part of me wonders if part of the reason you haven't taken to it is maybe if it's a little too close to the kind of thing you would like to do, because like if you've started the second season, then you've met the guy whose head is a goldfish in a bowl.
Yes.
And I remember seeing that and thinking, that seems like something Paul would do.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Someone got my notes.
Well, I don't mean like you're jealous, but like I know how frustrating it can be when you're like, that's like what I want to do, but my version is better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure I pitched Percy Jackson to Ryan at one point.
Yeah, but that was several years after the movie had come out. I don't think you get credit for that one.
No. I'm not saying I should. Okay. You know what I realized the other night is that I'm pretty sure we never talked about a couple huge things. Like, I don't think we ever talked about the Joker.
Oh, God. Dare I ask your opinion, Paul?
I thought Joaquin brilliant. I thought Joaquin Phoenix was brilliant. I only saw it once, and I think that is probably the only time I will ever see it.
I can stand behind that. The one thing I will not denigrate about that movie is he worked his ass off.
Yes.
the rest of the movie is okay to obnoxious, and the director can jump in a lake.
I haven't. There haven't been many movies I've watched that I felt that uncomfortable viewing, as I did while watching The Joker, and it was like it was unsettling. It was unsettling to watch. And Joaquin's performance is disturbing. And
I think that's part of the thing for me.
Yeah.
It wanted to unsettle me, but it didn't. I was rolling my eyes a lot.
Okay.
Like I don't know. It's hard for me to nail down what unsettles me. Like I can cite examples, but I couldn't tell you what the connective tissue is. So, but there was something about it. It was trying so hard, and maybe that in and of itself was what was annoying me. It was trying so hard to unsettle me, and I'm just here like, no. I feel like at some point, Ryan, I knew your opinion on this because we, like in the network check or something. I know it came up. Where were you on that one?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, geez. Okay then.
Okay.
No interest. Sorry.
And that's also fair.
That's fair. It is fair, and it takes, it takes that world and pushes it into a place where if you don't want to go there and you don't want to go there with those characters, not everybody wants to see an R-rated version of a beloved childhood character, right? And so I think that pushback is fair. And and I won't say I enjoyed the movie, by the way. Right. I think it's a stunning film, I guess, but I just go ahead. Sorry.
And I want my disinterest in the movie. I don't want it to be a judgment or a condemnation of the movie. When I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks like an exceptionally well-made potential Oscar bait type of movie that is going to appeal to a lot of people. I am not one of those people. To me, this is about as interesting as a Reese Witherspoon rom-com. So I was just like, this movie isn't for me. So I stepped out without any judgment on the quality of the movie, and I'm not going to say anything about it until I see it, which I have no plans to do. I have a feeling that will be a recurring theme for me during this conversation is haven't seen it, don't plan to see it, not interested. But, which is, I don't know what it says about me as a comic book loving pop culture geek type of person who is at a point where I'm very apathetic towards most of the content that feels like it should be geared toward me, but not connecting with that.
Yep.
So
well, that's fair.
In terms of like the stuff, I haven't been watching hardly any new stuff. I just like my time again. Like now that I'm podcasting about a TV show and thinking about another one. I mean, like when I watch TV, I'm either watching back episodes of Cheers to talk about that on the podcast, or just a few other. I go back to comfort food shows that I've seen 100 times, just so to to kill the demons, as you said, to drown them out. I haven't invested in a whole lot of new stuff, with the exception being just because. Well, so right before the world shut down, we dropped HBO. We had basically been clinging onto it for a little while for Game of Thrones and last week tonight. And once Game of Thrones was over and the way it ended, kind of a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, all right, I don't need to watch it. So I dropped it right before The Watchmen come out, thinking I'm never going to enjoy The Watchmen. I'm like, that's going to be terrible. And then everyone's like, this is brilliant. You got to see it.
Yeah, I still need to.
What was it like?
647
Emmys.
Something like, yeah. So yeah. I would like to see that at some point and get around to that. But nothing else. And then the first episode of Lovecraft Country is free on YouTube. So I've checked that out. I saw the first episode. I think it's great. And I was like considering, do I want to get HBO again to watch the show? Now, I have heard from other people whose opinions I trust on most things in this area.
So not me.
A lot of them have said the second episode is tonally very different and not good. But other people have said, having looked at reviews of the first half of the first season, they said that episode 2 is an outlier. They're like, you might have to puddle through episode 2 and it's not what you want, but after that it kind of rebounds and gets good. So Lovecraft Country is the thing. I saw one episode, I really enjoyed it, and that's a show that I would look at towards the future. Other than that,
seen that first episode yet.
it's I think you would love it. You would love it. I mean, it's the kind of horror stuff that we've talked about in the past. You would dig it.
But the question is, does it have sexy Tina?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Paul, please tell me you remember what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some things best left in the past.
Maybe you weren't there for that session. It was one of the gaming sessions that Paul was running when he was running a Lovecraft campaign. And there was a woman named Tina who came on to us and then became very unsettling.
She did.
Yeah.
It has sexy Journey Smollett, which is really nice.
I've heard not only have I heard really good things about Lovecraft Country. One of the things I did hear as well was that it is kind of sticking its landing in the moment right now as well.
Yeah.
And so that I'm excited for that. Like Watchmen does it in.
Mm-hmm. I will say, I mean, without spoiling anything, the most horrifying and like tense and nerve-rattling part of the first episode has nothing to do with like ancient elder god monsters. It's a cop, a town sheriff chasing a slow motion chasing these black people as the sun is setting, and it's tense, and that's like the most fear-fraught part of this episode. It has nothing to do with monsters. So yeah, in terms of the timeliness, good timing. Other stuff, just really quickly, I had planned to see the movie Knives Out when it was in the theater and just missed my shot because there was a medical situation in the family that kind of derailed my plans to go to the movies that night. So I never saw it in the theater. Then everything shut down. Now that it's on Amazon Prime, I finally watched Knives Out, and I loved the movie. I thought it was very entertaining. I liked that. That was really, really good. Very impressed with what Rian Johnson did with that one. And the weird forced Kentucky like bluegrass foghorn leghorn accent of Daniel Craig, I still found it a little bit charming, and I would like to see him play Benoit Blanc in another movie. So
he's working on a sequel, and for Liz and I, we both love that movie, and there's a hole in the donut thing. that's become a shorthand between the two of us.
The donut hole that fit the hole in the donut has a hole in it. It's not a donut hole. It's a donut with a hole.
Paul, did you catch Knives Out?
I have not seen Knives Out, no.
I really do recommend it. I mean, and here's the thing. I know there are lots of Star Wars fans who have decided that Rian Johnson is the worst thing ever. The Last Jedi is the only movie of his I've seen that I didn't like. And I don't like it, but the man is good at what he does. And I would even argue he was good at what he did with The Last Jedi. I just didn't want to see what he does applied to Star Wars.
I think that's fair.
So yeah, that's a really good one. I've been defaulting to animation a bit. Like I've probably rewatched the entire run of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power like 3 times now, which is a show I will never stop pushing everybody on the planet to see. It is the greatest, gayest thing that ever happened. And right now, the kiddo and I are watching Gravity Falls. We're about halfway through the 2nd season. Paul, that's another one that I feel like you should check out if you haven't.
Okay.
I would actually mention, since, I mean, we got Disney Plus that came out exactly at the right time, because my kid is now of an age where he can sustain like watching those things, and he has the attention span for most of those things, and he's recognizing and identifying with characters. So a ton of Disney animation and Pixar stuff that's come out in the last 2 decades that I've never seen before, just because I didn't feel like it was for me or it appealed to me. I've started watching those things and I love them. Like all the Toy Story movies. I'd seen the first one, but I've seen all the Toy Story movies now, the Cars movies, Frozen 1 and 2, Onward we've been watching, and these are great. I'm enjoying the hell out of these, and so it's nice that my kid has been my excuse to sort of get into these. I'm like, I'm loving these. I'm having as much fun watching these as he is, which I know everybody has been saying all along. Yeah, these have just as much value for adults as for kids.
Oh yeah.
But it's also just the fact of being a new parent puts you in an emotional state where now I cry at everything.
Oh God,
So,
yes. Oh my God.
Well, the opening scene in or sequence in Finding Nemo, right?
Mhm.
Right, the moment where Nemo gets taken away, you're like, oh my God, I would kill everything in the sea.
Yeah, there's that, like the moment that I remember, and the funny thing is, she didn't even watch this with me because she was like, she was too young, and I was watching it at home. I remember watching Wreck-It Ralph for the first time after my kid was born, and at the very end, and he says, you know, if that little kid believes in me, I can't be all bad, and I just break down in the living room. Watching that for the first time, I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, it happened. I'm a total softie now. But it's true. These movies are good regardless, but like sometimes her perspective on things, when she tells me what she likes about them, makes me appreciate them in a new way. Like she really loved Moana.
Yep.
In a way that made me appreciate it more than I think I might have otherwise. And actually, you know what movie she really liked and I probably would have dismissed if I hadn't rewatched it with her several times was the Wrinkle in Time movie.
Oh, wow.
She really, really liked it. And like that was a movie coming out of it from the theater from the first, and you need to realize she does not have interest in movies that are not either animated or star animals. She has said flat out she likes animals better than people. So,
you know, there are days when I do too.
Yeah, I know. But
almost
we came
all
out of
of
that
my
movie.
food it's mostly animals instead of people.
We came out of that movie, and immediately she says, "How soon can you buy it?" And you know, we rewatched it several. She's moved on from it since then because you know this was a couple years ago. But we rewatched it 3 or 4 times at home after we got it, and sort of getting able to rewatch it through her eyes and sort of appreciate the emotional core of that movie made me overlook a lot of the stuff that I know a lot of other viewers and critics got really hung up on that one.
On this Disney Plus note here, I will say that a couple properties that I had poo-pooed for a long time as being childish and what I thought was beneath me, Clone Wars and Rebels. I basically binged my way through those, and I found them to be surprisingly well-written, thoughtful, complex, really fascinating characters and locations and set pieces, and I walked away with both shows with what I felt was a richer and fuller appreciation for the Star Wars universe, which I did not expect, by the way, going in. And like my resistance to it in both cases dealt with the animation. I just thought it looked cheap, clunky, like not sophisticated or anything I was interested in. And I also I'm really protective of the characters that I care about, right? And I think most people are who are invested in a property that they care about. And so I'm like, I don't want to see Yoda, I don't want to see Obi-Wan, I don't want to see Luke, like I don't want to see these characters because I'm afraid of what they're going to do with them. They're going to change them in some fundamental way that I'm not going to like, or that's going to be inconsistent with how I think they should be treated. And I was really blown away. I strongly recommend both shows, and I know that I know I don't have to hawk these shows. I know plenty of people like them, but the doubting Thomas and me who walked away. I actually had a friend of mine who just kept hounding me about them. He's like, if you like these properties, you would enjoy these shows immensely. And I finally got into it, and he was right. So anyway, do either of you get into those shows at all, or?
I saw a little bit of early Rebels, and it just I didn't dislike it, but I didn't have the free time that I felt like sinking into it. And I've got it now, like in my watch list on Disney Plus, but no, I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, Ryan.
I jumped on. I had no interest in Clone Wars when it first came out because I hated the Star Wars prequels. I had no interest in watching more of those characters. I was like, I don't like the clones, I don't like the Jedi, and I don't like the droids. There's really nothing in the show that appeals to me, so I'm not going to watch it. When they did Rebels, because it was an era closer to the classic trilogy that I loved, and I could see, hey, these are stormtroopers, they're flying TIE fighters. This is the visual cues were there. It's about a small group of people that aren't all Jedi, although there are a surprisingly large amount of Jedi in Rebels too.
Yeah.
But I bought into that and I enjoy that. But once you got to the second season of Rebels, it really depended on a lot of foreknowledge of what had gone on in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I've got to bite the bullet. So I watched Clone Wars and found myself really enjoying that too, despite itself. I thought it was very interesting that the most interesting and compelling characters that you follow are original, unique characters to the series that weren't in the movies. Although they also redeemed characters like Darth Maul,
incredibly,
who I've often mocked for being nothing more than the design on a skateboard. That's all he was ever good for. But they actually made him the second most interesting character in all of the Star Wars animation based on what they were able to do with him. And I was like, that is a worthy accomplishment. So I enjoyed both of those shows and I recommend them.
The thing that really surprised me about Clone Wars was how much I both enjoyed and wanted to watch more of the stories that were sort of the grunts on the ground of the clones themselves. And how well humanized, and also the voice actor, who, because it's one guy, I forget his name, but he does all the clones, and he's tip of hat.
Well, I mean, if we're going to bring up Disney Plus and Star Wars, I think the question now has to be asked: The Mandalorian.
The who?
Okay, then.
I think I watched every episode 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Not necessarily on purpose, but because I kept having people come over and the conversation would go like this. Have you seen The Mandalorian? I have not. We're going to go watch The Mandalorian now. And I would take them through however many episodes there were at that point. And so I would end up rewatching the entire thing each time. And so, yeah, I have one episode in particular that I really didn't like, but beyond that, I loved it.
See, they've already bled together for me. I remember not liking the ending very much, or at least not liking the sequel bait. And I've started watching it again, but only because Liz really wants to see Baby Yoda. So I've now seen the first 2 episodes again, but only because she doesn't have Disney Plus. So she comes over to my place and wants to see more Baby Yoda. And I'm not even being facetious as to that's why she wants to watch it. She asked me in the first episode, like, he does show up in this first episode. I'm like, yes, but we're going to have to do the second one so you get more of a taste from him. She's like, oh, all right.
I don't know how much of the reading you've done on the background of the show, and like Werner's push to have them use an actual puppet as opposed to animation, or the fact that like the entire cast and crew would come on set when they knew Baby Yoda was going to be there, right? And so they knew pretty early that they had something, that they had found something special, and to me, I was immediately reminded of Gremlins, and which I strongly encourage you to rewatch for the puppetry and for like the mastery of the puppetry that happens in that film. Not even for, I mean, it's a great movie. I think it's a fantastic Christmas movie. Much like
Second
Die
one's
Hard.
better.
Second one is not better.
Yes,
but
it is.
Sorry, I was trying to bait Ryan there. But it was the Die Hard Christmas reference. But
I understood where you were going.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And so anyway, but I'm off 3 different tangents here. But back to Baby Yoda, I think it is just a testament to practical filmmaking and its importance. And there was, I think it was Chris Hemsworth who was talking about how hard it was to star in these green screen films where he's standing in a giant green room wearing a green suit, and there are people jumping around him in total green outfits holding a green stick with a green ball on the end of it, and someone's saying, "That's the monster," right? and that and like what that does to you as an actor, like how much you have to bring to make that work and to make that compelling. Whereas with Baby Yoda, you've got this amazing articulated puppet, right? That the actors can touch and pick up and move. And I don't know. I think for me, like The Mandalorian sort of speaks to the magic of filmmaking and practical filmmaking, like using real props, using real sets, using real effects. So I'll step off my soapbox now.
I can appreciate the methodology that went behind it. I can appreciate the care that went into it. It definitely resonated with a lot of people. I have so many nitpicks on this thing that do just, I know, me, what a shock. They do pile up over and like, I do mean nitpicks. Like I can cite you 2 things from the very first episode, and I know these are small, but they still annoy me. And these kinds of things are all over the place. It annoyed me that on an ice planet, there was a land speeder that looked like the same model they had on Tatooine. That annoyed me to think that, because I liked the idea that technology was more regional if it was on the planet. I mean, if it was, spacefaring, fine, whatever, it's going to go between. And there's no reason why it can't be the same model, but somehow that just bugged me. Or when they are, and I don't even know if it's established as being Tatooine, but when he goes, when Mando goes to meet Werner Herzog, and the ball thing on the end of the stick comes out like from Jabba's palace, that's fine, but it says the exact same things that the one at Jabba's palace did. And that annoyed me because it means that it removes the unique personality that these droids and things usually have. And now it's just reciting pre-programmed lines because it says the exact same lines of gibberish. And I know that because I've watched Return of the Jedi too many damn times. But little things like that kept needling me the entire series, which is petty. And I totally cop to that. So Ryan, I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't without its flaws. And I could nitpick a few things, and overall there were episodes that I found kind of weak. But in general, I was very. Going back to one of the things we were saying at the beginning, I'm pretty sure 6 months before I saw the pilot episode, I had pitched on a podcast a Star Wars movie that's basically Boba Fett, but it's like 3:10 to Yuma and Lone Wolf and Cub. And then I get this, and I was like, huh.
They stole your notes.
Exactly.
Just in time.
It's happened to all of us now.
Yeah. And then every episode, I was like, I've read or written Star Wars RPG scenarios based that is pretty much the same as this episode. I know how this is going to play out. So part of that was fun, but part of that was also kind of, I definitely think there was a middle chunk where it felt sort of we're just jumping to a different side trip, side adventure, side RPG scenario, and here's the stock NPC characters that we're going to meet, and it's a little bit inconsequential at this point. I felt like there was this ebb in the middle. Yep. But none of the episodes I thought were terrible. I still enjoyed them. So overall, I was impressed. I'm worried now, based on what I've heard of the second season, that they're bringing back a lot of familiar faces, old characters from either the movies or Clone Wars or Rebels or other things like that. They're going to insert them into the second season. I'm like, now you're doing that thing where you're making the universe smaller again. Yeah. And this show is already hinging on a lot of nostalgia. Pretty much all of Star Wars has been for the last 5 years. But I was like, this could be an area where you really explore and open things up. And if you keep bringing back these same characters that we know already, you're going the opposite direction. So I'm worried how that's going to fit the tone. But overall, as an exercise that I had very little emotional investment in when it started, I thought it was very entertaining, and I enjoyed every episode to some degree. So I liked it.
My biggest nitpick of the show, and this isn't really a Mandalorian issue so much as it is a filmmaking and I think a me consuming too much media issue, was the Seven Samurai episode. I have seen that story told so many times that, I mean, and they're literally copying shot, like they're absolute shot, and I understand what that particular movie and that particular setup I have seen so many times, and I feel like I've seen done better, that I was just like, I don't want to watch this. I'm not interested in this particular episode. But that was it. That particular critique was really the only time when I was like, man, not for me, not this episode.
So, going to be kind of a jump ahead in this because, well, first we had technical difficulties, and then we talked about something that, again, is the conversation was kind of rendered moot by it no longer being topical, like by a lot. So we're just going to kind of jump ahead a bit.
You don't even want to touch the Batman?
So here's the thing. I really want to like it. I'm torn, and I'm not entirely sure what it was that I was struggling with during the trailer. It felt like it's the Owls, which I haven't read.
Is it the Court of Owls? I
think so. I mean, at least part of it is.
Oh God, I hope not. I really hate the Court of Owls.
And so, because there's a couple at like Ryan, this is correct, right? It's the Owls.
I don't think so. I think they're in like Batman. I think they're in the Batman video game.
I'm thinking of the video game.
Yeah, you're mixing
that has you play
Gotham Knights. Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Thank you. Yep, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, I don't care what's in the video game. I'm never going to play it.
This is what I get for watching 10 trailers today. So back to my critique of the Batman trailer is the villain felt really, really, or the villains felt really generic to me, and I think it's supposed to be the Riddler. I think that's
it is. Yeah, that's probably who the voiceover was we were hearing too.
Just nothing in that trailer said Riddler to me. At least nothing that I like. It just, I don't know. The energy in it didn't feel like anything I associate with that character. And so I'm like, okay, this is like a super dark, really like a horrible dark version of the Riddler. And then I started thinking of the parody SNL sketch that they did of the Grouch. And I'm like, I don't need every character from my youth rebooted as this horrible, like sad, like abused individual who has had a terrible life and no one understands them. Anyway, I'll stop here. So I'm conflicted with the Batman trailer. It has nothing to do with Robert Pattinson, by the way. I'm willing to give him as much room as he needs to try to do his thing with that character.
He looked good in the suit.
Yep, I thought he looked. Yep, I would agree.
Ryan, other one.
The trailer didn't do much for me. However, as I understand it, Matt Reeves had only shot maybe 25% of the movie before they had to shut down.
That's my understanding.
So if there's anything, I didn't get much of a sense of a plot or any sort of cohesion or a sense of who the Riddler is or what he's about, or even just a few brief glimpses of the Penguin. All of that stuff, if that felt like it hasn't delivered that, I think it might just be because they don't have anything to show. What they showed in this teaser might be a large chunk of what they have available to show that has been cut, processed, and rendered the way. So it gave me the tone, the vibe, the color, the aesthetic, and I thought it's Seven meets The Crow with a Batman costume, and that is exactly what I wanted for a Batman movie when I was 17 years old. And that's not me saying that this is somehow more immature or that I am so much more sophisticated than I was when I was a teenager, because God knows that's not true. It's been a lateral move, if anything. But it's not I don't need another dark and gritty psychological profile of Bruce Wayne and Batman, because we've gotten that before. And I've like, one of my friends like texted me immediately and said, "This looks so great because it's dark and gritty like Batman should." And I said, they've said that about every Batman movie except for the Joel Schumacher ones. Go back to 1989. They said it looked dark and gritty because it was a reaction to the 60s show and the Superman movie. They said Batman Returns was darker. Christopher Nolan redeemed the Batman franchise by making it dark and gritty and taking it back to its roots. And The Dark Knight was even more. And by the time you got to Batman versus Superman, he was branding criminals with a poker so that they could get messed up in prison. That's dark and gritty. All we've done is change what the definition of dark and gritty is. We keep moving that goalpost, and the Batman keeps moving that way. So that means nothing as a description. So I don't get anything from that. Now, again, I'm trying not to pass a judgment on the movie or the audience that I think it's catering to. I just feel like it's not for me. I know people who do not live and breathe with this character. Their only exposure to Batman is in the movies, and they like the visual. They like what they got. This appeal. They think this is the kind of Batman that they've been waiting for. And I'm like, fine, that's cool. I hope you enjoy it. I have gotten Batman stories like this for the last 25 years since I've been reading comic books and stuff like that. So this doesn't give me anything I haven't seen before, just in a different medium. So I think tonally it might be very, very interesting. I didn't see enough to know what the story is going to be or how the performances are going to be. I don't really like the costume, but I'm not going to. It's not living or dying with that. Ultimately, the teaser did not make me more interested in seeing the movie. Didn't make me less interested. I'm just kind of. It's a Batman movie. I'll probably see it, but I don't know. I don't care. As somebody who like fell in love with Batman 30 years ago and has been championing this character and who's been his favorite superhero character, I'm also at this point now where I think there's just too much Batman and the Joker in the world, and I could go a long time before I see them again.
Yeah. So here's sort of where I'm at with it, which is a little bit of a weird place. First of all, just side note, this is why Lego Batman is the best Batman movie of the last 11 years.
Agreed.
So there's that. And then the overall, like, it is dark and gritty again. So what I hope to see out of it, especially if they're doing the Riddler, is like I'm accepting that this tone is consistent with the tone we've had for a long, long time now. But I really want to see the emphasis put on him as a detective, which actually means the scene that left me most conflicted is the one where he beats up a street thug. And that was actually, like, as an action beat, was really good. I like that it was a continuous shot. The hits hurt, which is what I asked for in a meaningful, non-silly action scene.
That was like a 20-point combo move in the Batman video games.
Yeah. But the thing is...
Just keep hitting X.
The thing is, more so than just dark and gritty, I'm really over brutal Batman. I'm over that very, very, very much. Even more so than, like, the dark atmosphere and everything. I am over him just beating the crap out of everybody. Now, my hope is...
Go ahead.
My hope is what Ryan said. They've only shot 25% of the movie, so I'm hoping that beat is not representative of the film and that the more detective-y stuff they just haven't gotten to and they haven't shot yet. I am curious about this version of the Riddler, but it's partially because I got what might be my ideal blend of going slightly darker, more psychotic, but still keeping, the silliness to him in Gotham and that version of Enigma. So I've had my ideal blend, so I'm a little bit more open to something that's pushing more in a direction that in a vacuum I don't like as much, but I'm like, I've recently had something that touched in the darker edge, but really blended that well. And yeah, sure, fine. You want to go further in the dark? Fine. I'll see what we end up with. So I'm probably, out of the three of us, it sounds like I might be the most intrigued and slightly optimistic, but there's still bits. I still have notes.
One of my, it's really funny that you brought up that moment, because that was actually one of the things that I reacted to during the trailer as well. And I was like, oh, not again. This hulking tank version of Batman. And I was like, what ever happened to the nimble Batman, the agile and like a cat almost Batman who, he has got 600 different ways of disabling you. And right, this was my main problem with the Christian Bale version of this character. The second time that he faces Bane, the first time he tried punching him in the face real hard, and that didn't work. And so the second time when he showed up, he tried punching him in the face real hard.
No, but Paul, you don't understand. The second time, he went and punched him in the head after rising out of the pit, because it was The Dark Knight Rises. So it's different somehow.
Well, the difference was he had the eye of the tiger, because The Dark Knight Rises was just Rocky 3. It's the same damn movie. And Creed 2 was another version of The Dark Knight Rises and Rocky 3. I think where we went wrong was somehow Kevlar and body armor became something that people are aware of in the popular culture. So Batman didn't have to be somebody who could sneak around and dodge bullets. He could just take all the bullets and all the punches and all the knife wounds you could throw at him. All he had to do was be the last man standing.
Honestly,
I'm not even have to be clever.
I'm not even sure that it's that. You know what I think it was? It was somewhere along the line, and I know, Paul, you said him as the tactician, but somewhere along the line that became him as the pragmatist. And really hammering on that for some interesting things, like the idea that he would have kryptonite in case Superman ever went bad or whatnot, but also a logical extension of that is, well, he could, hit them with a batarang and a smoke grenade and, tie them up or disable them with this or that. Or he could just punch them really hard in the head. Isn't that easier and more efficient? And isn't he pragmatic? So I feel like somehow it got tied into that notion that he's just super efficient and punching people in the head is more efficient. And the only reason that he doesn't kill people, which would be the efficient way to put them down for good, is because they decided that is the one rule he won't break, depending on who's making him, Zack Snyder. But basically, aside from that hard rule, whatever gets the job done fastest is what he'll do, which means he punches people in the head.
Which even that, then the logic fails. Then you're just doing it because, as a stylistic choice, you like the violence. Because really, if he was that much of a pragmatist and he had the resources of a billionaire, he would have a tranquilizer gun on him and he would just shoot them non-lethally.
Right. Why would he possibly, unless he enjoys beating people?
Oh, but that means we can dive into the dark psychology of Batman. And look at that, we just spun into the exact same spiral the comics and movies already have.
So anyway, so I was disappointed to see that shot. And I was disappointed to see it because it just reminded me of what I've seen before. And I love this character, much like Ryan. And I think, millions, hundreds of millions of other people around the planet. I love Batman. And I would like to see him a little more multifaceted than face punch guy.
Well, there's always the animated versions. Sometimes those suck too, but not always.
Anyway, so beating up on DC aside, I'm glad to see that now that the actress is closing in on her late 80s, we're finally going to get a Black Widow movie. I think if they, get Scarlett Jo, the right geriatric, medicine and care. I just why did it take so long? like I've read the sad story, of these projects that got started and failed away, and like Scarlett Jo was a hit from the moment she walked on the screen.
The movie is done, right? They're not like working on it. It's done.
No, I know. I'm just mad it took so long.
Well, I mean, the initial stall was like Perlmutter. That was the reason it wasn't being worked on significantly sooner than it was. And then pretty much it wasn't that long a development time once they actually had the green light to make the damn.
Yeah, I think it had more to do with just momentum and having to get the story positions and the characters and everything building towards the big epic climax with Infinity War and Endgame.
I mean, I think that was part of it, but also like they couldn't even start working on something with her until Perlmutter had no influence on the movies anymore.
Anyway, it's a gripe, and it's mine.
I mean, like it. Honestly, you can make similar complaints about Black Panther, not about the character specifically, but just how long it was before we got a black character. And I'm going to make similar gripes about when Eternals finally comes out, about how long it took them to have an explicitly queer character who was actually, named and mattered. So I'll be happy to see these things, but I ain't patting anybody's back over it.
Yeah, but I'm super stoked for the movie.
I'm there with you. I think we should probably think about wrapping it up soon. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to try to. Oh, so Paul, I'm assuming you're still taking meetings with DC about Skeets and Booster.
Money keeps trading hands, and the contracts keep sliding back and forth across the table. The potential there. I think we're talking about another Mandalorian level. Project.
My favorite thing is like there's got to be 5 people watching this who know what the hell I'm even talking about when I brought that up. I know Ryan has stuff to plug, so you hold your horses there, Ryan. Paul, do you have anything that you want to plug while you're here?
I don't have anything that I'm actively working on right now that's ready for people to pick up and take. I mean, I've got the stuff that I worked on with Ryan, the red and green comic that's still out there. But, stuff will be coming out in the future.
Whispered the Clown.
Thank you.
So, Ryan, how much of your stuff do you feel like plugging? I don't know how much time I want to give you.
Go to the Fire and Water Podcast at fireandwaterpodcast.com. It's a whole network of shows. I'm on like 20% of them, maybe more. I don't know. I talk about Batman. I talk about the TV show Cheers. I talk about horror comics, occasionally Star Wars, music, other stuff. But yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't 95% of the network now just you and Rob?
Yeah, Rob is trying to push me out. He wants to take the whole thing, but I'm hanging in. And
I'm not even going to bother plugging stuff because people are watching this on my own friggin' channel. You know who I am. Buy my merch. It was good to catch up with you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course.
You too. Thank you.
So I hope folks will take some time to check out what Paul and Ryan have been up to if you have the time and the inclination. They're both good guys, and it was really great to catch up with them. And maybe once everybody's vaccinated, I'll even get them on camera again. At the rate I'm going, maybe in 2 years. Who knows? But in any case, thank you for tuning in. Comments down in the description? No, comment below whatever your thoughts are on anything that you heard us talk about. Like, share, subscribe. Patreon, link maybe more likely in the description on that. But, all the usual stuff, but no pressure. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back next time you need a break.